One of the most striking phenomena in the gospel is the endless confrontations between Jesus and the religious authorities. Indeed, an integral part of the good news is expounded during those exchanges, which start out very early in Jesus' ministry. In a way, Jesus lays out his mission statement on one occasion when he discusses his relationship to the law. I have not come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. Verily I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one jot or tittle of the law will be lost until it is all fulfilled. Unless your justice exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Then Jesus goes on to proclaim that goodness is not in the eternal observances of the commandments, but in the spirit that inspires the proper observance of the law. A person can keep all the commandments, yet never do one good act. Commandments are negative. They tell you what not to do. Jesus was positive. He declared a new law, a law based on love. If you're offering your gift at the altar and you remember your brother has anything against you, leave your gift on the altar and go first and reconcile with your brother. Then come and offer your gift. In Jesus' day, the law of retribution was in vogue. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If one injured you, you had the right to take revenge. Jesus' holiness countered that. But I say to you, do not resist the evildoer. On the contrary, if someone strikes you on one cheek, offer him the other. You've heard it said, you shall love your friend and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemy. Do good to those who hate you. Pray for those who persecute you, so you may be children of your Father in heaven, who makes his sun rise on the good and the evil, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. You therefore are to be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect. In those words, Jesus outlines his understanding of goodness. Perfection, as God is perfect, is not in the observance of the law and commandment. God does not observe laws and commandments. God's perfection is in his love. It is his essence. God is love. And whoever is of God is inspired by love. We are to become perfect in loving the Father and caring for one another. That is why the only example Jesus gave of the last judgment, he does not use the commandments as the basis for judgment, but he says, come, blessed of my Father. When I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. It was not only the people of his days, but it's so common for people of all times to just keep commandments and church laws and observe external observances of religion. In living this way, we miss out on the point of what worship of God really is. Falling each day more deeply in love with God. Expressing that love by our sensitivity to the pain and hurt around us. And reaching out to help others, even strangers. To a person who has found God, no person ever again is a stranger. And that is the true perfection of love, the kind of love that God is, a love that knows no stranger. A strikingly large portion of the gospel story relates to the dramatic unfolding of that mission statement. The conflict between the scribes and the Pharisees and the Good Shepard is the tension between those obsessed with inflexible insistence on the letter of the law regardless of the damage inflicted on people, and the Good Shepherd, who went out in search of the bruised and hurting sheep, driven away by the self-righteous. The scribes and the Pharisees have the chair of Moses. All that they command you, therefore, observe and do, but do not imitate them, for they walk long but do nothing. They bind together heavy and oppressive burdens and lay them on people's shoulders, but do not lift one finger to lighten those burdens. The Good Shepherd, on the other hand, goes out looking for the lost and troubled, and the bruised, and the hurting sheep. And when he finds them, he picks them up, places them on his shoulder, and carries them back home because he loves the sheep. The dichotomy is dramatic because Jesus acknowledges the authority of the scribes and the Pharisees. They were the magisterium, the teaching authorities appointed by God. Jesus told his disciples to obey them. He then calls the scribes and the Pharisees blind guides who strain out a net and swallow a camel. Blind guides leading blind. They both fall into the pit. When he refers to himself as a good shepherd, he places himself in a role that is in direct contrast to the very way the religious authorities treated people. They drove the sheep away by excommunicating them and treating them harshly when they broke religious laws. The same thing happens wholesale to this very day. The Good Shepherd, on the other hand, goes out in search of those who have been driven out. When he finds them wandering aimlessly, hurt and bruised, he gently picks them up, binds their wounds, and carries them back home.